that movie as a kid, I was so in it, and to now me being in it is, I can't fathom it. I mean, I'm so lucky and so fortunate, and just getting to do this with lovely people is a dream come true and an honor. He wants to be a Viking, he wants to fit in, but it's just not who he is. And I related to Hiccup, so can a lot of other people. I related to him so much, you know, being different and just accepting it, and you know, that's what makes you cool. He wants to make his father proud, and you know, that's what he wants so bad, but he just can't seem to, you know, do it, and just kind of lets everybody down. So that's one of the things we explored a lot was, you know, how would somebody cope with that? And Hiccup's response is, you know, humor, you know, throw a joke at it, you know, make fun of himself. It's, you know what Hiccup does, it's who he is. So getting to do that was a lot of fun. They have these speakers so they can talk to everybody, and they put on Test Drive, and the music started playing, and everything just changed. I mean, like the old action, the song was playing, and I was on the dragon, and that moment was so special and so magical. I mean, you're on a crazy dragon, and the mechanism, the gimbal of it is so advanced and sometimes kind of scary, but it's really cool. Yeah. I mean, nobody on the planet Earth could play Stoick except for Gerard. Throughout shoot, we've really had this bond. A lot of the scenes he does are very intense. So watching his process going into that is so fascinating to watch, and you know, it's such an honor to work with him. Nico is such a sweet person and such an incredible actress, and I don't think I could have done it without her. And I don't even know where to begin. She just has this energy to her. You want to be around her. You want to be her friend. She's so humble, so kind, so caring, and you know, I'm glad to call her a friend. You need to see some really cool dragons do some really cool things. I mean, come on, it's a Night Fury. But no, it's just, you know, apart from the dragons and stuff, it's just, you know, it's such a heartfelt story and made with so much love and passion. Everybody loves their characters and the story, everybody behind it, all the sets, everything was made with such love. And I think that'll come across on screen.
He is this towering, physically imposing figure with such a commanding presence, and he's smart, he has a sharp wit, and he's quick to temper. But more than anything, he is about, with all that wildness, he is a man who is about the book, about upholding the traditions and the values and the customs of the tribe. He fiercely protects them and their way of life. And that's hugely important to him. He also has a son who is such a deep-seated love for his son. And that kind of tears him apart because his son is not really who he wanted him to be. Stoick just sees that he's not the kid that Stoick wants him to be. He's not following in this line of great warriors, following the forefathers, protecting the traditions, being respected, revered by the rest of the tribe. He's just not that kid. But natural, raw talent just shines through him. So I was doing these scenes going, oh, wow. I knew he was good, and I knew he had to be good to get the role, but then I'm doing these scenes like, oh wow, this kid's good. This kid's good. If you say, what is the advantage of live action? It's things like that. Getting to see a fresh take on Hiccup with a brilliant actor who can really represent Hiccup, and we get that coming of age story. We get his challenges. We get his cockiness and humor and his oddball kind of weirdness, but still trying his best to, you know, how you, like you say, how does Hiccup fit in this tribe, and how does he become cool in front of his friends, but how does he also stick to who he thinks he is and what he knows he has to offer? How does he do that in the eyes of his father, who he really wants to please? I would always think, I kind of wish I was actually in those worlds myself, experiencing that, seeing the dragons in this Viking village, in that great hall, on that Viking ship, out going towards the Dragon Island. And now I had the opportunity to do that, to live and breathe Stoick, and to fight those dragons for real, and to look in the eyes of my son and experience so many emotions and feel that so truthfully, and know that's a whole new How to Train Your Dragon that we're bringing to the world.
Yeah, I saw the movies growing up. My earliest memories of it would be my dad used to read me and my sister the books. We would kind of like close the book every night and be like, oh my God, because it's such an amazing world. And that's something I think that's translated really beautifully onto screen, and just kind of the world of Berk and the characters. So I remember that very fondly, but I also went and saw them in cinemas when they all first came out. So to be part of it now is very surreal, because my child self is kind of screaming internally constantly. If my younger self had known that one day I would be a version of what I was seeing on screen, I would have died. I can't even describe how thrilled I would have been. What I think is brilliant about Astrid is that she sees a difference in him and an individuality that is really key and special, and potentially could be kind of life-changing for all of them. And instead of resenting it and kind of chastising him for it because she lacks that, I think what's amazing is that she kind of encourages him to step all the way into it. And then when he does, it's so beautiful and lovely and sweet. And I think that it's something that makes their relationship really special, is that encouragement, and that she is also kind of responsible for how much he takes ownership over what he does and how special he is. It's not that common that with a massive live action like this that you kind of get to be in the actual space, but the fact that we have seen the most kind of hyper-realistic version of Berk that we could is insane. Going into the arena for the first time, I remember Dean was like, when we were shooting this like massive wide of us stepping in, and it's so vast and amazing, and I remember Dean being like, really like amp up how cool this is, and walking in, and we were like, we don't need to do that, it's really cool. It's the exact same thing for the village, because you go in and just immediately you're actually in it. As an actor, it's the dream. He's so knowledgeable of the world of Berk, and it really is, you can kind of go to him with any question about any of it and he knows. And there's something so brilliant about having the person at the helm of the ship, so to speak, be so tapped into it. And it really feels like everything that he does and every decision that's made is just so abundantly filled with love and care towards the original and towards the characters, and authentic to what it is. And it kind of bleeds into every facet of our work and the work from the crew and everyone around us. So he's been so amazing to work with, and he also is just like ridiculously lovely.
To be able to watch it on the big screen and see these dragons and characters that you love come to life, and being able to just be like, oh yeah, it's the same energy and it's the same vibe from the animations, just put into a world that is real, that is raw, that is chaotic, and it's just so amazing. He's a kid who loves dragons and he's obsessed with them, and it's kind of like this thing that's taken over him and his personality. And I think throughout the film you kind of see that he has this heart for Hiccup when others don't, and he kind of has there's this really innocence about him. And it's great that I was able to play a character who, in a world that is full of like craziness and chaoticness, there's kind of like this innocence about Fishlegs, or this calm. And he's kind of a shy kid. He's very I wouldn't say to himself, but he's very particular. I would say he's very socially awkward. I don't know if he knows how to read a room very well. I remember seeing my costume and being like, this is my favorite. All of the designers were like, yep, this is our favorite. We have a little joke that maybe Fishlegs is like the wealthy one in Berk. You know, he has a little bit more money. He can kind of splash out on his sheep furs and his kind of leather. So yeah, I love it. And then I thought I had the best costume, and then I saw all the adults, like Peter and Gerard and all of them, and I was like, oh, no, I'm not the coolest.
I don't think there's been a day where I haven't walked onto a set and just gone, oh my, wow, this is amazing. You know, it's the scale of it is incredible. With that too comes challenges for an actor, in terms of there are 400 people in this training arena and they're all watching you do your dialogue. It's kind of terrifying, really. But, you know, the detail of everything is just amazing, you know. Gobber is the town's weapons expert and blacksmith. He is Stoick's best friend. I think they probably did the Trial of Flame together as young men, and they've grown up together. I was meant to have my knee replaced a week before I got this job. So I put it on hold and then had a conversation with Dean about how bad my knee was. And he said, well, okay, well, Gobber's only got one leg anyway, so this is going to work perfectly. Gobber's missing leg is now his left leg in the film, in the live action, and in the animated, it was his right leg. So if they're looking, the fans, I mean, are looking to blame someone, blame my left knee. Dragon fans can expect from this film dragons. There's lots of lovely dragons. There's Gerard Butler, what's not to love, Mason Thames and Nico Parker and their blossoming on-set relationship, and, you know, grumpy old 60-year-old Gobber. It's funny and the action's going to be great, and the characters, there's a genuine warmth and affection there between them, you know, and that's because I think we as actors have grown to like one another, you know.
He's head first, he's brash, he's big. He feels that he's like living in the shadow, I think, of his dad and the bigger Vikings, and he's trying to like almost outshout that and like outbrazen that and be cooler than that. Nico is a natural born Astrid. I think she's utterly brilliant. She's so shining, and I don't think I've ever met anyone who's so born to run and be on a film set. What she brings to Astrid is this sort of effortless cool that sort of just comes through, and it's not, there's no trying, it just is. I've learned so much from working with Nico, watching her work, watching her communicate on a set, watching her communicate with producers and directors and hold her own and be able to hold her space, be generous for others and be playful whilst being focused. And she's got that star quality that seems that she was like born to do this. It doesn't feel like there's a separation between him as a director and him as a fan of it. And so he's there to make it cool, almost for him. And when he's talking to you about it, or about any inch of it, about this line, or like that dragon, or like a beam, it's all part of the same world. There's no sort of spotlight on one corner of it or one moment, because Dean's got this whole world in his head. He is the heart of it. There's this like really gorgeous beating heart under the whole thing, which is Dean. And we all want to do really well for him.
Tuffnut is one of the recruits, so he's one of the teens going through the Trial of Flame, so wanting to become like kind of the top slayer. He's a twin, his twin is Ruffnut, and they basically think they're identical, even though they're clearly not. But he's also done the Trial of Flame a couple of times. I think we said something like this is his 4th time doing it. So he's basically like that kid in school that's doing his like last grade like over and over and over again. So he's completely thinks he's like, I've basically got this, I know what I'm doing. He is motivated by ego and motivated by like wanting to prove himself. And I think especially because he's constantly battling with his twin, he's just like, I just need to be one-upping from her. So it's this constant competitiveness between them. He's a bit of a lughead, but I love him very much. I could talk about working with Bronwyn all day because it's an absolute joy. I think anyone that's met her has just been like, God, what a fantastically, firstly, like talented person, funny person, good person. All my scenes are with her, and I couldn't be more grateful that they're all with her. I think having her next to me on set all the time has just been one of the best things about this experience. I think she's enormously talented, so funny, has such good instincts for things. Mason as Hiccup is so perfect. I'm so angry that someone that age can be so good. He's so talented, he's so funny, he's so brilliant as Hiccup, and it's just amazing seeing him like say, we'll be having like a silly joke or doing something like that, the camera rolls and he's Hiccup immediately. And I think because we've all got very close, we're so excited for him. Like I remember there was one scene that we were doing where he has to say like a very cool line, which is I think he just says like, follow me or something like that. But every time he did it, we'd all be like, oh, just because it looked so, it was just, he was like proper Hiccup leading the recruits. Yeah, he's perfect. He's the most brilliant Hiccup that you could possibly imagine, I think.
We were keen to create a distinct culture for the island of Berk. And one of the things we learned in the research for the film, and that Dean learned in the research for the previous 3 movies, is that every culture around the world has dragon stories they tell. So the animated movie tells the story about one group of Vikings trying to root out one nest near them. What we've expanded it to say is, this island of Berk is near a dragon's nest, and the Vikings traveled all over the world to find brave warriors from everywhere, and bring them back to Berk because they know it's near a nest. And if they can find a nest and stop and figure out the mystery of these dragons, maybe they can save the world. And that global approach speaks to Viking culture. Toothless is the most exciting pet you can have, and also the world's fastest motorcycle. It's a really special creature and a really special relationship that forms. And you don't ride a motorcycle, you drive a motorcycle. And we thought a lot about, but a motorcycle's not alive. So we really don't think that you just sit on the back of these beasts and go. We think of Hiccup and Toothless as co-pilots. So we want to put the audience experientially in Hiccup's seat as he pilots or co-pilots Toothless. And we're pushing ourselves to do flying in a way that hasn't really been seen before. This is a big, immersive movie. You will sit on the back of a dragon and fly through the canyons. We've visited some of the most iconic places on Earth. You know, you watch those David Attenborough documentaries. We went there. We went to the Faroe Islands. I went to a town of 14 people. We went through great glaciers in Iceland, volcanoes, basaltic cliffs, and then we put our dragons in those environments and fly through them in incredibly immersive ways. If you felt like you wanted to know more about the island of Berk, you wanted to reach out and touch the walls and the carvings and the Book of Dragons, it's all here for you.
Ruffnut is the twin sister of Tuffnut, Ruffnut and Tuffnut, and they are these feral kind of gremlin twins. Especially Ruffnut. I've really tried to lean into the feralness of her. So they have this massive, unearned sense of bravado, and it is all just bravado, it's all face. So they've got out of 10 of confidence, they've got a 10. Skill level, probably a 2. They fight constantly. They're constantly trying to one-up each other, trying to be the best one, trying to show the other one up. But beneath it all, they really love each other. They will risk their lives for each other and for the people that are important to them. It's that very sibling relationship of no one makes fun of my brother but me. So that's been really fun to play. Working with Harry has been a dream. I want to do it all day, every day. I am chaining him to my waist so that we can do every job together. You see, you dream about having a co-star like Harry, because he's not just insanely talented, he's so quick-witted. Some of the stuff he comes out with, on camera and off camera, I'll just find myself being like, okay, I just need a minute because we can't roll now because I'm crying from laughter. It's really hard to put into words just how incredible these sets are. When you see stuff, you kind of think oh yeah, well, it's probably on a blue screen somewhere. But these are all real, they're all built, and they're built out of nothing. You tap the rock and it's hollow because they've built the rock, and they've made these stone steps in this huge building that we're in. So being in it is so otherworldly and so incredible because it really is just stepping into the film, stepping into this giant world. It's hard not to get a bit goosey over it because it's really exciting and so huge and so special.
There are many themes and ideas in the animated film that are fantastic, that are relatable and that are universal and that speak to the world today. Starting with our main character, Hiccup, and his feeling of not belonging, of wanting to be seen, of wanting to be authentic, of wanting to be who he really is. That's the great metaphor in How to Train Your Dragon. He's the one Viking who doesn't feel like a Viking. He's the one Viking who, unlike his father, who's the chief of the tribe, doesn't want to kill the dragons, which is what these Vikings are there to do. There's a great metaphor in that. It's very relatable. So what this kid does is he actually makes a connection to one of the dragons and realizes the way to get along, the way to stop the battles between humans and dragons is to make a connection. There's a great relationship between father and son. The father, who's the chief of the tribe, who wants his son to be the great Viking, to slay the dragon, and a kid who doesn't see the world that way. And in the live action version, we're able to really elaborate in a way that you can't in animation into that relationship and into the emotional state of this young kid, Hiccup. We've surrounded Dean with great creative, imaginative crafts people in every area of the production, whether it's our designer, Dominic Watkins, or our director of photography, Bill Pope. And so we have a wonderful team, and what we're doing is building a world. While our dragons will be very much created in the computer, photorealistically, so much of the world is being built, stone by stone, so that it's not just authentic, but that when you're seeing the movie, you will be immersed in an environment that you can touch and feel, and that is part of the magic of filmmaking.
For me, I immediately gravitated toward a story of a young protagonist who's an oddball in his world. There's a great wish fulfillment in the idea that you could go from a nobody to somebody of great consequence, paired with this amazing creature that is not only your best friend and your protector, but something that needs you as well. I just love those sorts of stories where there is a coming together of these two very disparate, a boy and a beast, that for a while have such a deep and meaningful impact on one another's lives that even though they may go their separate ways at the end of this story, they are forever changed. I would say live action is full of surprises, whereas animation, everything is you're planning it and you're executing it in kind of a glacial pace over the course of many years. But very, very infrequently do you get a chance to improvise and to have spontaneity in the room, except for when you're with actors. Mm-hmm. That's true of animation, but when you're in live action, it's all about that. It's about the happy surprises that are just present every day, because you have actors that are coming to you with ideas. It changes the way the scene plays out physically. It changes the spaces between dialogue and how moments are processed and whether dialogue is even necessary. The whole thing becomes a conversation, and it's flowing, and it's really fascinating and interesting. I loved being part of it because you have a sense of time is wasting, and you have to get a certain number of shots done a day, but otherwise the set just won't be there, but at the same time there's magic happening around you, and someone might have a really great idea about what to do with a camera, and then the actors might have a really great idea about how to play something differently than the way it was scripted, and your job as director is just sort of to be responsive, to take it all in, but also have a sense of what the story's about and what's important and keep driving it forward. He completely got the character because he grew up with How to Train Your Dragon. He's got a lot of physical attributes that the Jay Baruchel Hiccup would not have had, but I think he still managed to communicate sort of a sense of insecurity, a sense of yearning for acceptance, and also the humor that comes along with that. He's such an obvious choice for somebody who needs to be big and brash and commanding. He does that with ease and a sense of sort of larger than life caricature. But it's those tender moments that are really disarming and surprising, where I feel like he brings himself to a point of tears and vulnerability that is so convincing, I think, for parents in the audience and also kids. But I think that he was able to find a place where he could really pull out an honest, tender, heartbreaking rendition of a father who's struggling to understand his son who has the best of intention for him, but just doesn't see the kid who's in front of him as somebody he can relate to. So we reimagined Toothless as kind of a ghost in the Viking world. No one had ever seen one. You hear it coming. It has a very distinctive sound. It has a very distinctive attack. And the destruction is always devastating. But the only real glimpse that you get of the dragon is how it blots out stars when it flies across the night sky. We wanted to kind of create this sense of anticipation for what this creature would look like. And then when Hiccup comes across him in the woods, the idea was that he would come across a dragon that's impressive, it's black, it's shiny, it's scaly, it looks really powerful, and yet it's, instead of the other dragons, which are very much based on reptiles, we wanted to go with the idea that this was more mammalian. It was based on a black panther, and so it had an elegance to it. So all of those considerations went into it. We wanted it to seem powerful and elegant and different from the other dragons in terms of its design. And also, we wanted people to see their pets in Toothless. We wanted all the cues to be there. We wanted people to be able to look at the live action version of Toothless and say, that's him, but he's real.